Hey, this is Kimberly, the garden wife. I wanted to thank you for watching my video. I also want to thank Derwent, who asked me to partner with them this year. They are sending me products in exchange for my opinion of them and my posting of media showing my use of them. And in this particular one, they wanted me to draw with the Inktense pencils on something non-traditional, so something other than paper. So what I did is use watercolor ground, and I put that over a wooden ornament and I let it cure for a couple of days. Now you can also do this over gesso, and I will upload a video and some photos of ornaments that I did over gesso. The acrylic gesso is also non-permeable and it has a little bit more of a glossy finish. The Inktense sits on top of it more and the colors look a little richer, but you can still blend them just like you can over this. The watercolor ground is absorbent, even though it doesn't let the Inktense permeate the wood. One thing's for sure, if you're doing stuff with Inktense on wood, you need to seal it somehow first. If you don't, I'll tell you what happens. It turns out a hot mess. I had just tried an ornament by itself, and once I added the water, of course the water absorbed into the wood grain and it made the ink feather, and it just kind of splotched out and became very faded. So yeah, you don't want to do that. But so my big tip is make sure whatever it is you're going to do your line work with works, and make sure that you've primed your wood first. Okay, so I was ready to do the coloring at this point, and I put down some color, and whoops, I realized my brush still had a little bit of pigment left in it from when I did watercolors. So I cleaned my brush out and I scribbled down the color again over on the left side. I wanted to show the colors each time I added one, but I kind of forgot to do that. But as you can see, after I add water to that, see how bright that gets? That's how it is with Inktense. You cannot go by what the color looks like before you add water, because it changes a lot, and sometimes it really changes to almost a different hue. So you can see where I'm blocking in the sky. There's just a very light color of blue on there. I didn't want to start out too dark and not be able to lighten it, because once it's down there you can't do anything with it. So it's best to build up in layers unless you know for sure the look you're going for and you've already swatched it out and seen what it looks like. Alright, you may hear the occasional meow as my cat pleads with me to pay attention to her. Okay, so here you can see that the red barely shows up. I believe this is the Shiraz color in the Inktense set, but boy, once you add that water, pow. I really love this stuff because you can layer it up a little bit at a time. Man, don't go by what it looks like dry. I know I keep saying that, but it's the truth. It's a good idea to swatch it all out with different pressures of pencil, different amounts of pigment on the paper before you activate it. All of that makes a difference. And I decided to do some green next. And I wanted to show you, in this particular case, you can put a little bit of the Inktense on some paper and then activate it with water and use it like a watercolor. You don't have to draw on the object and then activate it right on the object. So it's nice if you just have a couple little tiny things you want to do. Don't need to worry about going outside the lines. And that, I can't remember which color yellow it is. When I did these windows, I also wanted to show how the light would also reflect off the snow since it's nighttime. So just a soft glow of the snow there and the lights going up. And once I did that, I thought, this just looks kind of plain. You'll see what I did in a little bit. I decided to add some stones to the walkway. It had been a while since I did the blue, so I decided to do another coat of the blue. I added the pigment on a little bit thicker this time. And that's the iron blue again. Had a little hair on the brush. Yeah, that's a cat hair on my brace. I always have to watch and make sure there isn't cat hair in my artwork. I have little helpers. I just very lightly reactivated some of that iron blue on the paper so that I could put a few little shadows in the snow. And next I decided I wanted to do the roof, but then I decided, hey, why don't I do some kind of a pathway first? I was swatching out some colors there. Didn't quite find what I wanted. And I added some simple stepstones there. I didn't wait quite long enough to let it dry, so there is a little bit of bleeding, but that's okay because I was doing brown. But it's something to keep in mind. Make sure that your ink is dry. If you use the liner to do this stuff, it's not going to be an issue because it won't activate with water no matter what you do. The next color I grabbed was the antique white. Now, it's not totally opaque, so it's not going to cover over stuff like gouache wood or, an acrylic paint. You notice that I was wiping the pencil on the paper. It's because I had a little bit of blue from when I was doing some other work earlier. So I want to make sure I wasn't introducing blue to the white there. After I got done putting it on really heavy, I activated it with water to make sure it was permanent. And then I added a little bit of a halo around the moon as well. Is that red gorgeous or what? I wanted to make it deeper in the front because the moon was behind the house, and I left the side a little bit paler, showing that there was light hitting it. Everything's about light. I just thought those looked like Christmassy colors. I took the iron blue and added some very light shadows and activated those with water. The shadows give it depth, and so the house doesn't look like it's just floating in midair. It kind of grounds it a bit. And that's about it. I just need to seal it. I have some stills for you along with some suggestions. Again, make sure you have enough ink in your pen, or you're going to have to stop in the middle of what you're doing and go to another pen, or it just interrupts the flow. No fun. You can scribble the Inktense and use it like a watercolor pan and use the brush to apply the color. And once again, the white Inktense is not opaque, but it does help lighten things up and soften them. And that's about it. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, let me know. Please like and subscribe.